This is Talk Business and Politics with Roby Brock.
Well, although he likes basketball a lot, our next guest is unlikely to make the Harlem Globetrotters basketball team, but that doesn't mean he hasn't been a Globetrotter. Governor Asa Hutchinson now joins us. Welcome. Good to see you.
Thanks, Roby. Always good to be with you.
Glad you're back safely. So, before we dive into China and your trade trip there, I want to ask you about some late-breaking news on Friday afternoon. We have been informed that the FBI director, James Comey, has informed Congress that he is reviewing some potential new evidence that, quote, appears to be pertinent in the Hillary Clinton email investigation, which was closed this summer. What does the timing of this announcement, 11-ish days, 10 days before an election, say to you about the seriousness and the potential nature of what the FBI has come into?
Anytime the director of the FBI issues a letter within 2 weeks of a general election, indicates that he doesn't want to be found having this after the election, disclosing it publicly, and so he discloses it now. As to the significance of it, it is significant in terms of the fact that there was a closed investigation that now appears to be opening, or at least the door cracking to it. They have other matters to review, and even though it may not go anywhere from a different conclusion, it was significant enough he felt like he needed to disclose it to the American people.
It's kind of a little bit unprecedented in terms of, I can't think of an example of something coming out this close to an election before, so there's going to be partisans on both sides of the aisle that are going to make hay of it one direction and the other. Do you think it's too late, though, with early voting already starting, with a lot of the campaign dynamics already in place, to will it make a difference in the election?
Well, if it's a close election, it will, or it could. I mean, there's a lot of people left to vote, and information comes out and has a way of swaying voters. So, you know, there could be developments that come out in the next couple of weeks on either side. So that's why my good friend Philip Taldo says he doesn't vote for Election Day, because who knows what can happen.
Well, you already early voted, though.
I
think
did.
we know how you voted in president based on your previous statements and endorsement there. Let's talk about your trade trip to China. You have come back with at least one closed prospect in hand there. An apparel company is going to locate in Little Rock for about a $20 million facility. Do we know where in Little Rock yet? I can't remember the details of that, but tell me about this new company.
Well, they are looking at different locations, trying to zero in, but they want to do it in the Little Rock area as the preferred location. 400 jobs, $20 million investment, but the significance is that this is the first garment company to relocate in the United States from China. So it's like reverse return of manufacturing back to the United States. We were able to capture that here in Arkansas, $14 an hour plus benefits as the promised wage rate. They make 90% of Adidas sportswear products, so really solid company, and we're delighted to get that coming back to this state.
What do you think swung that? What was the attraction to bring a manufacturing job from what has traditionally been a low-cost labor part of the world to Arkansas?
That's the dynamic change. As you see China's economy maturing, they both have higher cost of production. The logistics challenge is still there, shipping it overseas. And then thirdly, they want to look at the United States market and be a bigger player. And so I think you're going to see numerous opportunities for that type of manufacturing to come back to the United States. That's why I think it's important for me to be there in China from time to time to make our case.
You said in one of your statements post-trip, or maybe during the trip, that you thought that there would be benefits for the Delta out of some of these developments in the near future. What gives you that confidence? What do you see happening? Do you know something that you can't tell us?
Well, it's a hope based upon some discussions that I know that in my meetings there that there's other garment companies, other apparel companies that are looking at returning to the United States, and so we're competing for those, and that those are good opportunities for the Delta, and they like the workforce. We have people that are accustomed to textiles, apparel manufacturing. We have facilities, and so I'm hoping and pushing that these are opportunities for the Delta.
All right, we're going to take a quick commercial break. We're going to come back and talk about some other things, including health care, maybe War Memorial Stadium, and some budget stuff. So you'll stick around?
That's great, yes.
All right, Governor Asa Hutchinson is with us. I'm Roby Brock. This is Talk Business and Politics. We're back after this. And welcome back. Our guest is Governor Asa Hutchinson. Governor, let's talk about, you've announced some plans for War Memorial Stadium. You want to see a consultant study the stadium, come up with some uses. You've talked about moving it to the Parks and Tourism Department. You clearly have something in mind here. Give me a clue as to what you hope happens.
I think it's a premier sports event venue that's very important for Arkansas. And it looks to me like, with our love of sports, with our incredible teams in this state, that there's opportunities there for showcase games there in War Memorial Stadium. I'm committed to its future, and moving this to Parks and Tourism, as I'm asking the legislature to do, is really giving it greater administrative support, marketing support, tools that Parks and Tourism is very good at. Obviously, the Commission plays an important role, and they would continue to assist and help in the marketing of and advocacy for the stadium. But I'm excited about its future. You know, there's nothing is certain, but I wanted to put out of my own discretionary funds the funding of a national arena consultant that can give us some counsel as to what are the opportunities there, the best uses, and also what needs to be done there to make it a better venue.
All right, let's shift to talk about tax cuts. I know we're going to be a little hesitant to how far we can go, but I think Bart Hester wants your job. He's come out this week and advocated for some proposed tax cuts for folks making under $21,000, then some folks in the $35,000 to $50,000 range. Is this the income tax bracket that you have the top priority for?
Well, I've said previously that our last income tax cut, which is $100 million, went to the middle income category, those making between, $20,000 and $75,000. And so obviously the next round of cuts should address those who did not receive it last time. And so that's what we're looking at. The big question, though, is what's the dollar amount and how do you pay for those tax cuts? We can absorb some because of revenue growth, but we have a lot of needs in this state, from our foster care system to public safety. We obviously have education adequacy that we've got to increase, so we've got a lot of needs there, and so we're waiting for the final budget numbers to determine what is reasonable amount and a conservative approach to what we can do and continuing to lower that income tax rate.
Are you worried not just sales tax collections, tax collections overall have generally been lower in the first 3 months of the state's fiscal year? If that trend continues, is it an option to not do any tax cuts because of tax collections?
You know, if we do not have good revenue numbers, you certainly have to consider that you know, we have to slow down in our tax cut plan because of that. But I'm not worried about our sales tax collection, but I'm a little puzzled by it because every economic growth sign is incredible in Arkansas right now. Low unemployment, high GDP growth, medium income is going up. So I like where we are. I think the sales tax collections will come back, but we still want to keep an eye on that. And I'm just not going to put the stability of the state, the integrity of the state at risk. We want to manage it well, but I do hope that we can continue to have some tax cuts. That's the long-term goal that I have.
While you were in China, we got the numbers that the private option and some of the Medicaid expansion in Arkansas has gone over the 300,000 threshold there, more than people had proposed that it would be. How much more could the private option, soon to be Arkansas Works, how much could that cost the state? How are you budgeting for the potential that that number could be higher than what we traditionally thought it would be?
Well, we're budgeting carefully, and that's why I've asked Director Cindy Gillespie to look at a 5-year projection on Medicaid as to where we will be, what we need to do on our cost savings. We're aggressively implementing cost-saving measures and reform. In terms of what will be Arkansas Works on the Medicaid expansion population, we've had traditionally the private option, and the numbers, I mean, we keep referring, 4 years back, a number of 250,000. Right. You think about the growth in our state, you think about the fact that we've made some policy decisions that increase those numbers. I want to keep an eye on that, and I want to see how that growth can slow down and what the challenge is. But at the same time, we've been fortunate in Arkansas that our private insurance market for the private policies obtained on the marketplace is not suffering the same types of growth in other states because we have a broader pool of people on that marketplace. And so we've got more options in terms of health insurance, and we've got not the same growth, one of the lowest growths in premiums as the other states.
All right, Governor Asa Hutchinson, would love to talk to you a lot more about this. We may talk a little bit off camera after this as well. So I understand you're going to be doing a sit down with Chris May, I think, coming up this next week. Did you guys hang out? You're going to have a good time?
Looking forward to
Channel
it.
7?
Absolutely.
All right, thank you for being here, Governor.
Thank you.
All right. When we come back from this word from our sponsors, we are going to take a look at some TV spots from around the country that are stirring some buzz. We'll also review our latest poll numbers. KATV's Alicia Dover and Janelle Lilly join me to talk politics. You're back with a Web Extra. I'm Roby Brock. We're with Governor Asa Hutchinson. Governor, we were talking before we had to go off the air here about the Affordable Care Act, Medicaid expansion, Medicaid in Arkansas. Senator Jim Hendren said when he saw those numbers about the threshold exceeding $300,000 that the Affordable Care Act's trajectory is, quote, unsustainable, is what he said. The state has applied for some federal waivers for some relief. Can you provide an update as to where we are on those federal waivers? What's the timeline?
Well, let's separate those questions there. First of all, Senator Jim Hendren talked about the unsustainability in the future of the Affordable Care Act on its current trajectory. I take that as looking at the National Affordable Care Act and where it's headed from a national perspective, and I think we all have deep concerns about it, and particularly with the insurers pulling out of the markets in other states. But if you look at it separately from an Arkansas standpoint, we share the concerns as to the future of health care and what the Affordable Care Act means. That's why we wanted to implement these reforms under Arkansas Works. And then secondly, we want to have more reforms. We need, with the new administration, hopefully have more flexibility to manage this better so we get it off the current trajectory. In terms of the waivers, those have been applied for. We're getting a favorable response from CMS, but they haven't been granted yet. We hope to get those soon.
Will they be granted before you have to present a budget to the legislature?
It'll probably be closed. We have to get it fairly soon because we have to implement this between now and January 1. We're counting on that being a part of the budget for next year. So we're assuming that those waivers will be granted, and that's the basis of which we're preparing our budget.
All right. Governor Asa Hutchinson, thank you so much. Appreciate you.
Thanks, Roby.
Thank you for watching. That is all for this Web Extra. We'll see you next time.